Hello everyone, and welcome to the second attempt at recording this video because something was playing in the background and I was wondering while I was talking, wait, what the heck is that? What's going on? Oh, there's still someone else's video in the background going on. Whoops. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about a bunch of new EXs, and we're also going to be talking about some master ability number 2s, because those have actually started in JP, and I did not talk about them last time, mainly just because of scheduling and whatnot. I didn't quite have the time. We were getting into the anniversary live stream and all of that, so gonna be a little bit better about that. We'll probably go back and take a look at some of the old ones, but for now, let's talk about the new stuff that's been added to the game this week. Starting with Marguerite, who is a character I've never really thought that much about before, and probably won't think too terribly much of later. That's nothing terribly against her. I've just never really seen the use of her, but EX is at least interesting. So magic nodes, luck nodes, speed nodes, an HP central node, all paint a picture of what this character is essentially getting for bonus stats. But here we also have our enhancements, starting with a casting support ability. This one reduced the ability activation time significantly. Now it also apparently has a boost to getting Berserk to happen. And this is interesting because there are some units in the game that can really leverage this. This is pretty detrimental against other mages. This is an interesting, if nothing else, upgrade for this character, and that is kind of just the story to tell about her upgrades. So here we have Medio. Medio is just dealing large damage, and it's just essentially getting enhanced to be better than it was before. It's getting 3-turn mental penetration up after dealing damage, so that's a pretty big deal. Medio is basically one of Time Mage's best ways of dealing damage, and it was already good before, and now it's essentially going to be better, and it improves the entirety of her damage dealing kit. Now, if her damage dealing kit, it was impressive before, it's going to be, much better now because of this single enhancement to an ability you would probably already be using. Her new ability, however, is very interesting because it's also a damage-based ability, medium damage only, but a 3-turn spirit down with a probability for 3 turns Berserk status effect. So yeah, Marguerite's EX becomes interesting. I don't necessarily know if it's going to be super reliable for her AI to be casting this, but Madman's Curse is a brand new ability that I don't think we've seen before in another unit. I mean, it essentially is a damage dealing that also reduces spirit, so I think Marguerite is now a really good friend of Anniversary Glassy, and that is a strong point. That is a really good point for her to, she has some synergy out there, she has some things she can do, and Berserk is a pretty bad status effect to get hit with. So this is nice. I can definitely see where this unit will be useful, and I'm kind of just curious if this will also do really well in the future with some other fire units that are coming along, fire magic units such as Tina/Terra. So I'm gonna say that this is overall, I like this EX because it gives her really good status effects and it gives her a much higher chance, but it also ups her damage capabilities too. And she already, Time Mage just has good support, so this might be a unit we see used on the JP side, especially in limited time guild battles. But I think Marguerite is way more interesting, definitely on my radar now, and we'll be watching to see if anybody really takes advantage of her on the JP side. Alright, switch over from fire, and we are going to be talking about earth here. Lorenzo, and Lorenzo, a dragoon. I love dragoons. He's a lancer, and last but not least, Time Mage. Okay, alright. Interesting combination, pretty much guarantee that you were running as a dragoon before. If there was a problem with Lorenzo before, it was definitely his speed, and as we start to look at his EX, probably should get an idea that that's still going to be a problem for him. You know, dexterity, attack, luck, all of that good stuff, more attack, some HP node, but only 3 speed. He was already really slow to begin with, and I think he's going to continue to be slow after this. So that's kind of a problem to note before we continue. So what does he end up getting? Well, first of all, Tornado Strengthening, 3-turn own attack, and also a improvement to his, accuracy, which is good. If you were, like, there's a lot of evade units out there. Lorenzo doesn't necessarily have any sure hit abilities, so this is good. The question of how good, well, I don't have the Wotv calc numbers quite yet, but if it's basically, that's the big thing that he's getting here is an accuracy upgrade, then this should be just pretty good overall, because I would expect a pretty good amount of accuracy on this guy. Next up, Dragon Dive is getting enhanced as well, so damage to targets post-destruction that will reduce physical damage after a certain amount of time. So basically it just becomes, you know, better at DPS. And all of this is really nice, but his new ability is the one that you really gotta take, because this is the thing. The other two are nice, but this is why you would ever build this character. This is why you would get him to 120. Damage after jumping, removing re-raise, guts, shell, and protect. It's medium damage, it's AoE, it's only 26 AP, it's 3 uses, but that's a hell of a really strong ability. In terms of just being able to remove that many things, it's such a blanket good ability where if this hits an enemy, like, it's kind of all or nothing. And I am worried about his speed, and I am worried about the fact that he doesn't have Oberyn's lock on. If this misses, if this character misses, he's going to miss really hard, and he's probably going to die shortly after. But I do have to say that in terms of the abilities, there's probably going to be reasons why you run this. There's probably going to be some difficult content in the future where we see a boss maybe with all of these things. Maybe it's Phoenix, I don't know. But this ability should not be forgotten because this is a really, really, really good ability. And the only question is can you land it? Because if you can land it, boy, is it going to hurt the enemy a lot. I mean, if it only had AP drain too, I think it would be even more bananas and nuts. But Lorenzo, I think overall is probably too slow to really get the most out of this. And if his other AI, like, if his AI just can only use one of the longer range attacks, maybe he doesn't have enough AP after. So I'm a little concerned overall about Lorenzo. I think that his EX probably doesn't get there. It's not as interesting meat as Marguerite. Of course, these impressions could be wrong. We haven't tested them yet. I don't have infinite resources, so I can't build every character. But just from early impressions, I would be betting harder on Marguerite and less hard on Lorenzo, but Lorenzo should always be remembered, just in case. Alright, and the last EX to talk about tonight is, unfortunately, the character who still hasn't gotten his new artwork. Here he is, Howlet. Alright, and as you can see, I'm basically ready to go if I want. I can get a Howlet EX right now. But is it worth it? Well, Howlet's always been a really good DPS who just has issues not getting turned into Asphalt. Essentially, he has HP recovery abilities. That's not the problem. The problem is that when he gets hit, he usually gets snapped in half like a twig. So what's he getting? HP, speed, magic, more HP. some more dexterity, a magic node, and an HP node. Now, good, generally good. I mean, you know, there's a little bit of speed. Speed wasn't necessarily his biggest problem before, and he's getting a lot of magic, so he's going to be dealing more DPS. And while he does get some more HP and will get HP with levels, it's nothing in his kit that's getting upgraded today is going to keep him from getting murdered still. But let's take a look at him just in case I'm wrong. All right, first of all, we're going to start with this one. Eroga Sword is getting enhanced. It's getting a range enhancement as well as dealing wind damage large, soil assertive killer, and brave down to targets in range. So first of all, it's essentially going now, it looks like 3 panels ahead of him. Not a huge range increase, but a lot of the swords feel super range limited compared to a lot of the how do I put this, they feel very limited compared to a lot of abilities nowadays. So a range increase is nice here. Soil killer means that he will be really good at killing earth units, and brave down is also kind of interesting because it makes the other units worse. I actually think that this is a really nice ability and a really nice upgrade. Taking a look at his second ability is Drain Invoke, and now it's still small damage, it's still absorbing damage being done. We'll give a 1 turn of greats, I think it's like slash up, let me just double check. Yeah, slash attack resistance, penetration rate up, and his magic will also be greatly increased. So it's essentially becoming a better damage ability. Like Drain Evoke was always an ability you ran because it has amazing range on it. It's small, it recovers a bit of HP, which is good for Howlet, provided he's not dead. And now it's just essentially going to power up his kit, which is good. I mean, he's going to be dealing more damage, essentially. It's just, again, Howlet kind of is a little bit worried that he's going to get snapped in half. And his last ability is continued very much on the same tune as the other one. As you can see, Genki Blade, which probably is not the perfect translation of that. 2 consecutive hits to a single target after the own mental penetration rate, it goes up. Now what's interesting here is that the way I read this is it's basically only for the attack. It's going to deal a lot of damage. It is going to be potentially really scary after a Drain Evoke, and it's wind chaining, which should not be poo-pooed at all. Wind has some really good stuff right now, and I think that overall, Howlet is going to be an incredible effective damage dealer. But I think it's mostly going to be for PvE and not PvP. Howlet still feels very fragile, and it feels like they didn't, well, no, they just didn't really give him that much extra survivability. He really didn't get any more defense or spirit or defensive capability, and that was one of his weaknesses. And that's kind of the overall story for all of these EXs. All 3 of these units effectively become better at what they were doing before, with the one exception I want to say towards Marguerite. Marguerite somehow got like a really, really good status effect and a higher chance for it to happen, and her overall kit feels more improved. Howlet is dealing more damage and has some nice tricks in his kit to effectively make him better at that. But it doesn't really fix a problem that his character already had. And I'm sorry to say that, but he will be a really good character controlled-wise, especially in PvE content. As for Lorenzo, sorry. Why do I want to call him Schultz? Anyway, I think that he has one of the most interesting level 25 abilities that really is just a whoa. They gave him that. It doesn't do any status effects, but it removes so much stuff that characters like to use nowadays that it is a really noteworthy. But his speed hasn't been that much improved, and I think he's still going to suffer. So overall, if I was to give a highest, the EXs that I like the most out of all of these, first of all, I'm definitely giving the biggest shout out to Marguerite. I just think that Berserk is way too good. Especially in limited time Guild War. I think it will be really interesting, and I'm very curious to actually see if Marguerite can be very good in a limited Guild War style. As for Howlet, I think he'll be very useful as a DPS and PvE contenter, but is other than fans who are, going to, EX him anyway, because of course, I don't think that he's really honing in on his weaknesses. He's just capitalizing on his strengths, and that's good. It's just not super what I necessarily wanted to see for Howlet in this case, because again, I was using him at level 99 earlier on in the year, and one of the things I was finding was he was dying quite just too easily. So I'll keep an eye in case anyone I know builds his EX and see how they think, if he really just maybe gets an incredible amount of HP and he's just really dodgy now. I don't know, but we'll see. And yeah, Lorenzo is my bottom pick, just because while his job level 25 is so insane, it just doesn't feel like it's probably going to work out the way we want it to. All right, next up, we're going to be talking about master abilities, and we're going to start with Learte. As you can see, I very much built my Learte. Now, Learte gets a new is one of the characters to get a new master ability too, and as I scroll right the heck by it, now, before, her master ability was essentially a hit rate increase and some killer, and her job level 80 is some hit rate increase and some killer. Basically doubles the hit rate she got from her first master ability, and I think at this point we can call it. Learte is the most non-equipment based accurate character in the game. Without like any extra abilities or anything, she is for sure gonna hit the mark almost every time. I think other than, reflex, she can probably hit any enemy in the game, and that's really cool without like any extra equipment necessarily. So Learte, very cool. Do I think that she's the best thing ever? I mean, she's still a pretty low rarity unit, so keep that in mind. All right, next up is Xiza and Xiza. Xiza. What does she get? She gets the standard Dark Attribute attack up for other characters. She also gets, of course, the boost to other allies, and she gets an evasion rate plus by 20. Okay, essentially she just becomes, oh, I guess we should have had her up on screen. We could actually just do her EX now, because I do believe mine is fairly high level. Yeah, we could do that master ability number 2. Overall, not terribly exciting. I think that with her EX, and this master ability too, she's probably better than Lomega, but that's really not saying too much. So yeah, better luck, Xiza. Can we just please let Xiza rest forever at this point? All right, moving on. Next up is Aileen. That's the wrong pink-haired girl. I am so sorry. So for Keto, as well as Orange J, and any other Eileen's fans out there, first of all, apologies for not having built mine completely yet. I just am saving my resources for a rainy day. Really nice master ability too. HP up, soil attack up for, other characters or whatever. But own defense penetration rate plus 20 and initial AP plus 20. Actually impressive, really. I'm not saying that this is going to fix all of her problems, but if she's going to be used as a DPS, it's a nice master ability increase that will up her damage. Don't think it's going to go crazy, but I hope this is one of the characters that can use 2 vision cards, and we can push this character even more, because Eileen could definitely use some more time in the sun, but I really like her master ability level 2. It's pretty nice for a DPS character. Now, speaking of characters that I am not the biggest fan of, but I know there are people out there who like it, let's talk Oldoa, and probably I should just spend the resources and get Oldoa up to 99, just so I can get the Trust Mastery. Because as you can see, I could do it. Anyway, Trust Mastery is not the only thing. Now level 80. This is going to be something that I think a lot of people who like Drain Force are going to like. So, of course, the ally HP and attack goes up for its own type. Slashing, hit, shooting, and sting or pierce resistance up by 10. So she becomes more durable with her new EX. And her own HP goes up by 15%. Drain Force range will go up. And yeah, consumption +1 and AP down. You know, I've said a lot of bad things about Oldoa. Like, I could fill another 20 minutes talking about things I do not like about this character. Like, literally, what is the top of her hair doing? Is it supposed to be a skunk tail or is it a peacock? But I'm not going to do that, and you didn't hear it. This is by far the best master ability in this thing. Like, I think Learte's is incredibly strong, just for how much accuracy she gets. But this one's really great. This is just very focused on a specific ability. It gives it, you know, more usage, it reduces her AP cost, it gives it more range, and it works with the extra HP increase. And it even makes this character a little more tanky, even though she didn't get more armor. But I have to say, this is my favorite out of the 4 Master Ability 2s. I don't think that any of these are really going to redefine these characters, but they are nice little boosts to each of these characters for fans of these characters. And as I've said in my previous video yesterday, I was pretty happy about the fact that they're still supporting these old characters, because these old characters, there are people who love them out there, and they should definitely still get use out of them. So maybe these characters that we've talked about tonight, you just really are using for PvE content or limited content, but there's some good stuff here to be sure, and I really like that they are still supporting old characters. Anyway, let me know what you think of the upgrades to do with Master Ability 2 and EXs. If you think that you really want to build these characters, you should definitely do it, because you should have fun. Because, you know, the second anniversary is kind of meh. I made it like 21 minutes without saying the anniversary is meh. That's pretty good for me. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time.